Let's get ready for the Washington Real Estate Exam with 100 questions covering key state laws, principles, and practices you'll need to know. And keep an eye on the bottom corner. There's something there that could make a big difference in your prep. We'll tell you how to use it in just a minute. Now let's get started.
Let's begin with a review of Washington licensing requirements and procedures. Washington licensing requirements and procedures. What is the minimum age requirement to apply for a real estate license in Washington? Is it A, 16 years old, B, 18 years old, C, 21 years old, or D, 25 years old? The answer is B, 18 years old. In Washington, individuals must be at least 18 years old to apply for a real estate license. This requirement ensures that applicants have reached the age of majority and are legally capable of entering contracts. How many hours of approved real estate education must be completed before taking the Washington Real Estate License exam? Is it A, 60 hours, B, 5 hours, C, 90 hours, or D, 120 hours? The answer is C, 90 hours. Washington requires applicants to complete 90 hours of approved real estate education, which includes 60 hours of real estate fundamentals and 30 hours of real estate practices.
Have you noticed the code in the bottom corner? Next time you're stumped, take that code to birdsey.ai for immediate help and a free study session with Birdsey, your personal AI study partner. Plus, you'll get access to hundreds of additional questions, helping you move closer to passing your exam with confidence. The next time you're feeling unsure or stuck, give it a try.
Which of the following is a requirement for maintaining an active real estate license in Washington? Is it A, annual background check, B, monthly sales quota, C, quarterly ethics training, or D, continuing education? The answer is D, continuing education. Washington requires real estate licensees to complete continuing education every renewal cycle to ensure they remain informed about industry changes and legal updates. What is the initial step in the licensing process for a new real estate agent in Washington? Is it A, complete pre-licensing education, B, submit fingerprints, C, pass the licensing exam, or D, apply for a license? The answer is A, complete pre-licensing education. The initial step is to complete the required pre-licensing education. This foundational knowledge is essential before taking the licensing exam or applying for the license. Continuing education requirements. What is the minimum number of continuing education hours required for a real estate license renewal in Washington? Is it A, 15 hours, B, 20 hours, C, 30 hours, or D, 40 hours? The answer is C, 30 hours. In Washington, real estate licensees must complete 30 hours of continuing education every 2 years, including a core course, to renew their license. Which of the following is a mandatory component of continuing education for real estate licensees in Washington? Is it A, elective courses, B, core course, C, first aid training, or D, ethics workshop? The answer is B, core course. The core course is a mandatory component in the continuing education requirements, covering important updates and changes in real estate laws and practices. How often must Washington real estate licensees renew their license? Is it A, every 2 years, B, annually, C, every 3 years, or D, every 4 years? The answer is A, every 2 years. Real estate licenses in Washington must be renewed every 2 years, requiring completion of continuing education and payment of renewal fees. What happens if a real estate licensee in Washington fails to complete the required continuing education by the renewal deadline? Is it A, License is automatically renewed. B. License is revoked. C. A fine is issued. Or D. License is placed on inactive status. The answer is D. License is placed on inactive status. Failure to complete continuing education by the deadline results in the license being placed on inactive status until requirements are fulfilled. Let's continue with Washington real estate laws and regulations. Washington-specific fair housing laws. Which protected class is specifically included under Washington's fair housing laws but not under federal law? Is it A. Race, B. Marital status, C. National origin, or D. Religion? The answer is B. Marital status. Washington law includes marital status as a protected class, which is not covered under federal fair housing laws. This means discrimination based on marital status is prohibited in Washington. What is the maximum penalty for a first-time violation of Washington's fair housing laws? Is it A. $1,000, B. $5,000, C. $10,000, or D. $20,000? The answer is C. $10,000. A first-time violation of Washington's fair housing laws can result in a penalty of up to $10,000 as per the state's enforcement guidelines to deter discrimination. Under Washington law, which of the following is not a protected class? Is it A. Sexual orientation, B. Gender identity, C. Familial status, or D. Political affiliation? The answer is D. Political affiliation. Political affiliation is not considered a protected class under Washington's fair housing laws. The law focuses on personal characteristics like race, gender, and family status. In Washington, which agency is primarily responsible for enforcing fair housing laws? Is it A. Washington State Human Rights Commission, B. Department of Housing and Urban Development, C. Washington State Department of Licensing, or D. Federal Trade Commission? The answer is A. Washington State Human Rights Commission. The Washington State Human Rights Commission is tasked with enforcing the state's fair housing laws, ensuring compliance, and addressing complaints of discrimination. Which of the following actions is considered discriminatory under Washington's fair housing laws? Is it A. Offering different lease terms based on credit score, B. Refusing to rent to a family with children, C. Setting different rent prices based on unit size, or D. Charging higher deposits for pet owners? The answer is B. Refusing to rent to a family with children. Refusing to rent to a family with children is discriminatory under Washington law, as familial status is a protected class, ensuring families are not unfairly denied housing. Which of the following is a unique requirement of Washington's fair housing laws compared to federal law? Is it A. Prohibition of racial discrimination, B. Protection for people with disabilities, C. Inclusion of gender identity as a protected class, or D. Ban on discriminatory advertising? The answer is C. Inclusion of gender identity as a protected class. Washington's fair housing laws include additional protected classes not covered by federal law, such as sexual orientation and gender identity. This expansion ensures broader protection against discrimination in housing. What is a key responsibility of the Washington State Human Rights Commission under fair housing laws? Is it A. Investigating housing discrimination complaints, B. Issuing real estate licenses, C. Setting property tax rates, or D. Approving housing development projects? The answer is A. Investigating housing discrimination complaints. The Washington State Human Rights Commission is tasked with investigating complaints related to housing discrimination, ensuring compliance with fair housing laws, and promoting equal housing opportunities.
If you're finding this helpful, please take a minute to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more practice exams, useful tips, and complimentary study sessions with Birdsey.
Washington-specific contract requirements. What is the minimum earnest money deposit required by law in Washington when signing a real estate purchase agreement? Is it A, 1% of the purchase price, B, $1,000, C, no minimum required by law, or D, $500? The answer is C, no minimum required by law. Washington law does not specify a minimum earnest money deposit for real estate transactions. The amount is typically negotiated between the buyer and seller and is outlined in the purchase agreement. In Washington, what is required for a real estate purchase agreement to be enforceable in court? Is it A, the agreement must be in writing and signed by both parties? B, the agreement must be notarized? C, the agreement must include a witness signature? Or D, the agreement must be recorded with the county recorder's office? The answer is A, the agreement must be in writing and signed by both parties. In Washington, a real estate purchase agreement must be in writing and signed by both parties to be enforceable in court. This requirement is based on the Statute of Frauds, which necessitates written contracts for real estate transactions. What is the statutory period for a buyer to rescind a real estate purchase contract in Washington under the Homeowner Association Act? Is it A, 3 days, B, 5 days, C, 7 days, or D, 10 days? The answer is B, 5 days. Under the Washington Homeowner Association Act, buyers have a 5-day period to rescind a purchase contract after receiving the resale certificate, which includes important association documents and disclosures. Which of the following is a mandatory disclosure in Washington real estate transactions? Is it A, seller disclosure statement, B, lead-based paint disclosure, C, flood zone certification, or D, radon gas report? The answer is A, seller disclosure statement. The seller disclosure statement is mandatory in Washington, requiring sellers to disclose known defects and issues with the property, ensuring transparency and protecting buyers from unforeseen problems. How long must a Washington real estate broker retain transaction records after closing? Is it A, 1 year, B, 2 years, C, 5 years, or D, 3 years? The answer is D, 3 years. In Washington, real estate brokers are required to retain transaction records for a minimum of 3 years after the transaction closes, ensuring compliance with state regulations and facilitating audits. In Washington, what is the requirement for a real estate broker when dealing with multiple offers on a property? Is it A, only present the highest offer, B, present offers in the order they were received, C, present all offers promptly, or D, present only the first 3 offers? The answer is C, present all offers promptly. Washington law requires that all offers must be presented to the seller promptly. The broker must act in the best interest of the seller and disclose all offers received. What is the maximum time allowed for a seller to respond to a buyer's offer in Washington real estate transactions? Is it A, 24 hours, B, no statutory maximum, C, 48 hours, or D, 72 hours? The answer is B, no statutory maximum. There is no statutory maximum time for a seller to respond in Washington. The response time is typically negotiated between the parties involved in the transaction. Overview of Washington real estate statutes. What is the primary purpose of the Washington State Real Estate Commission? Is it A, to set property tax rates, B, to regulate real estate practices and protect the public, C, to manage state-owned properties, or D, to provide legal advice to real estate agents? The answer is B, to regulate real estate practices and protect the public. The Washington State Real Estate Commission is responsible for regulating real estate practices to ensure public protection. This includes licensing, education, and disciplinary actions for real estate professionals. Which of the following is a requirement for obtaining a real estate license in Washington? Is it A, completion of 90 hours of approved real estate education? B, a minimum of 5 years of real estate experience? C, a bachelor's degree in business? Or D, membership in the National Association of Realtors? The answer is A, completion of 90 hours of approved real estate education. Applicants must complete 90 hours of approved real estate education covering fundamentals and practice to qualify for the licensing exam in Washington. What is the term length for a real estate license in Washington before renewal is required? Is it A, 1 year, B, 3 years, C, 2 years, or D, 5 years? The answer is C, 2 years. In Washington, real estate licenses must be renewed every 2 years. This ensures that licensees remain up to date with continuing education requirements and current regulations. What must a real estate broker in Washington do when handling client funds? Is it A, use them for business expenses? B, hold them in a personal account? C, invest them in real estate ventures? Or D, deposit them into a trust account? The answer is D, deposit them into a trust account. Brokers must deposit client funds into a trust account to keep them separate from personal or business funds, ensuring accountability and protection of the client's money. Which entity is responsible for enforcing real estate laws in Washington State? Is it A, Washington State Department of Licensing? B, Washington State Bar Association? C, Washington State Building Code Council? Or D, Washington State Department of Revenue? The answer is A, Washington State Department of Licensing. The Washington State Department of Licensing is tasked with enforcing real estate laws, including licensing, regulating, and disciplining real estate professionals. Now let's review Washington property ownership and land use. Types of property ownership, e.g. fee simple, leasehold, joint tenancy. In Washington, which type of property ownership allows the owner to have the most complete control over the property? Is it A, fee simple, B, leasehold, C, joint tenancy, or D, tenancy in common? The answer is A, fee simple. Fee simple ownership provides the owner with the most complete set of rights possible, including the right to use, sell, or bequeath the property. It is the most common form of ownership. What is the primary feature of joint tenancy in Washington property law? Is it A, equal ownership shares, B, right of survivorship, C, ability to sell without consent, or D, separate legal entities? The answer is B, right of survivorship. Joint tenancy includes the right of survivorship, meaning that upon the death of one owner, their share automatically passes to the surviving joint tenants, bypassing probate. Which type of property ownership in Washington allows multiple owners to have unequal shares? Is it A, joint tenancy, B, fee simple, C, leasehold, or D, tenancy in common? The answer is D, tenancy in common. Tenancy in common allows owners to hold unequal shares and does not include the right of survivorship, meaning each owner's share can be passed to heirs. In a leasehold estate in Washington, what rights does the lessee primarily have? Is it A, ownership rights, B, right of survivorship, C, right to use and occupy, or D, ability to sell the property? The answer is C, right to use and occupy. A leasehold estate grants the lessee the right to use and occupy the property for a specified period as defined by the lease agreement, without ownership rights. Which type of ownership allows a property's interest to automatically transfer to surviving owners upon an owner's death in Washington? Is it A, tenancy in common, B, joint tenancy, C, fee simple, or D, leasehold? The answer is B, joint tenancy. Joint tenancy includes the right of survivorship, ensuring that a deceased owner's interest automatically transfers to the surviving joint tenants, avoiding probate.
Stuck on a question? Just think of the Birdsey link in the description as your friendly neighborhood superhero swooping in to save the day with answers. Feel free to explore it now and return to continue. Simply hit pause, and we'll be waiting when you get back.
Public versus private land use controls. In Washington state, which type of land use control is typically implemented by local municipalities to regulate property development? Is it A, easements, B, zoning ordinances, C, deed restrictions, or D, building codes? The answer is B, zoning ordinances. Zoning ordinances are local government regulations that dictate how land can be used in specific areas. They help organize urban growth and protect the environment by controlling property development. What is the primary purpose of a comprehensive plan in Washington's land use management? Is it A, to outline long-term community development goals, B, to enforce building codes, C, to establish property tax rates, or D, to grant zoning variances? The answer is A, to outline long-term community development goals. A comprehensive plan provides a long-term vision for community development, ensuring sustainable growth and effective land use. It guides zoning decisions and infrastructure investments. Which agency is primarily responsible for enforcing environmental regulations on private land in Washington? Is it A, City Planning Department, B, County Assessor's Office, C, Washington Department of Ecology, or D, Federal Housing Administration? The answer is C, Washington Department of Ecology. The Washington Department of Ecology enforces environmental regulations to protect natural resources and public health, ensuring compliance with state and federal laws on private lands. Which of the following is a characteristic of a public land use control in Washington? Is it A, voluntary agreements between neighbors, B, private covenants outlined in a deed, C, negotiated easements, or D, zoning laws? The answer is D, zoning laws. Public land use controls, such as zoning laws, are enacted by government entities to manage land development and use, ensuring orderly growth and protecting public welfare. Land use and zoning laws. What is the primary purpose of zoning laws in Washington state? Is it A, to increase property taxes for local governments, B, to protect historical landmarks, C, to ensure orderly development and land use, or D, to enhance real estate market values? The answer is C, to ensure orderly development and land use. Zoning laws in Washington state are primarily designed to separate different land uses, ensuring that residential, commercial, and industrial areas are developed in a way that reduces conflicts and promotes orderly growth. In Washington state, what is the primary purpose of a planned unit development? Is it A, to restrict land use to a single type of development, B, to provide flexibility in land use and design, C, to enforce strict zoning regulations, or D, to eliminate the need for zoning approvals? The answer is B, to provide flexibility in land use and design. A planned unit development in Washington is designed to offer flexibility in land use and design by integrating various residential, commercial, and recreational spaces, fostering efficient use of land and resources. What is a variance in the context of Washington zoning laws? Is it A, a change in zoning classification, B, an exception to zoning ordinances? C. A temporary zoning permit? Or D. A zoning appeal process? The answer is B. An exception to zoning ordinances. A variance is a legal exception to zoning rules, allowing property owners to use their land in a way that deviates from local zoning ordinances, typically granted due to unique circumstances. Which Washington state law regulates land use planning and zoning? Is it A. The Land Use Act, B. The Environmental Policy Act, C. The Housing Development Act, or D. The Growth Management Act? The answer is D. The Growth Management Act. The Growth Management Act regulates land use planning in Washington, requiring comprehensive plans to manage growth and development, aiming to balance environmental and economic needs. Condominiums and HOAs. What is a common responsibility of a homeowners association in Washington state? Is it A. Managing individual property taxes, B. Providing individual home insurance, C. Maintaining common areas, or D. Appraising home values? The answer is C. Maintaining common areas. HOAs in Washington state are typically responsible for maintaining common areas within a community. This includes landscaping, shared amenities, and ensuring compliance with community rules, which helps preserve property values. Which of the following is a defining characteristic of a condominium in Washington? Is it A. Individual ownership of land, B. Shared ownership of common areas, C. Exclusive ownership of exterior walls, or D. Separate insurance for each unit? The answer is B. Shared ownership of common areas. In Washington, a condominium is characterized by individual ownership of a unit and shared ownership of common areas, such as hallways and recreational facilities, managed by an association. How does the Washington Condominium Act impact the sale of new condominium units? Is it A. Mandates a public offering statement, B. Requires individual unit appraisals, C. Limits the number of units per building, or D. Ensures all units have private garages? The answer is A. Mandates a public offering statement. The Washington Condominium Act requires developers to provide a public offering statement to prospective buyers, ensuring they are informed about the condominium's governance, finances, and obligations. What is a primary function of a condominium association in Washington state? Is it A. Collecting individual mortgage payments, B. Providing personal legal advice, C. Selling individual units, or D. Managing common property? The answer is D. Managing common property. The primary function of a condominium association is to manage the common property and enforce the rules set forth in the condominium declaration and bylaws, ensuring a harmonious living environment. Environmental issues and shoreline management. Which Washington state law governs the use and development of shorelines? Is it A. Clean Water Act, B. Shoreline Management Act, C. Coastal Zone Management Act, or D. Endangered Species Act? The answer is B. Shoreline Management Act. The Shoreline Management Act is a Washington state law that regulates the use and development of shorelines to protect natural resources and public access. What is the primary purpose of Washington's Growth Management Act? Is it A. To manage population growth and prevent urban sprawl, B. To regulate water quality in urban areas, C. To provide federal funds for infrastructure development, or D. To enhance recreational facilities along shorelines? The answer is A. To manage population growth and prevent urban sprawl. The Growth Management Act aims to manage population growth, prevent urban sprawl, and protect the environment by requiring comprehensive planning in Washington. Under Washington law, what is a critical area that requires special protection? Is it A. Urban commercial zones, B. residential neighborhoods? C. Wetlands and fish habitats? Or D. Industrial parks? The answer is C. Wetlands and fish habitats. Critical areas in Washington include wetlands, frequently flooded areas, and fish and wildlife habitats, which require special protection to maintain ecological balance. How does the Washington State Environmental Policy Act impact land use decisions? Is it A, by providing tax incentives for green construction? B, by mandating renewable energy use in developments? C, by limiting residential development near shorelines? Or D, by requiring environmental review of significant projects? The answer is D, by requiring environmental review of significant projects. SEPA requires environmental review of certain land use decisions to ensure potential impacts are considered, aiming to protect the environment and public health. Let's continue with a look at Washington agency law and ethics. Agency relationship laws. In Washington, which of the following best describes the fiduciary duty of loyalty owed by an agent to their principal? Is it A, the agent must disclose all personal interests? B, the agent must act solely in the principal's best interest? C, the agent must avoid all conflicts of interest? Or D, the agent must maintain confidentiality? The answer is B, the agent must act solely in the principal's best interest. The fiduciary duty of loyalty requires agents to prioritize the principal's interests above their own. This duty is fundamental in maintaining trust and integrity within the agency relationship. What is required for a valid agency relationship to be established under Washington agency law? Is it A, mutual consent between principal and agent? B, a written contract detailing duties? C, a formal agreement signed by a notary? Or D, financial compensation agreement? The answer is A, mutual consent between principal and agent. A valid agency relationship requires mutual consent between the principal and the agent. This consent can be expressed orally or in writing, depending on the circumstances. Under Washington law, what duty does an agent have regarding the disclosure of material facts? Is it A, only disclose facts upon principal's request? B, disclose only positive facts about the property? C, disclose facts that benefit the agent? Or D, disclose all known material facts affecting the transaction? The answer is D, disclose all known material facts affecting the transaction. Agents in Washington must disclose all known material facts that could affect the principal's decision-making. This duty ensures transparency and informed decisions by the principal. Which of the following is a duty of an agent under the Washington agency law when representing a buyer? Is it A, negotiate the lowest possible price? B, provide legal advice to the buyer? C, exercise reasonable care and skill? Or D, guarantee the condition of the property? The answer is C, exercise reasonable care and skill. Agents representing buyers must exercise reasonable care and skill in their duties. This ensures the buyer receives competent representation and advice during the transaction.
Notice the code in the corner? When you're stumped by a question, enter it at birdsey.ai for immediate help. Enjoy complimentary study sessions and access to hundreds of additional questions to help you pass your exam with confidence.
Fiduciary duties and client representation. What is the primary fiduciary duty a real estate agent owes to their client under Washington agency law? Is it A, duty of disclosure? B, duty of obedience? C, duty of loyalty? Or D, duty of accounting? The answer is C, duty of loyalty. The duty of loyalty requires agents to act in the best interests of their clients, putting clients' interests above their own. This includes avoiding conflicts of interest and maintaining confidentiality. Which fiduciary duty requires a real estate agent to keep a client's information confidential? Is it A, duty of confidentiality, B, duty of loyalty, C, duty of care, or D, duty of disclosure? The answer is A, duty of confidentiality. The duty of confidentiality obligates agents to protect their clients' private information from unauthorized disclosure, even after the agency relationship ends. Under Washington agency law, what is required for an agent to fulfill their duty of disclosure? Is it A, withholding sensitive information, B, informing clients of material facts, C, disclosing only positive aspects, or D, keeping client interests secondary? The answer is B, informing clients of material facts. The duty of disclosure requires agents to inform clients of all material facts that could affect their decision-making, ensuring informed consent in all transactions. What does the duty of reasonable care entail for a real estate agent in Washington? Is it A, ignoring market trends, B, prioritizing personal gain, C, providing minimal service, or D, exercising competence and diligence? The answer is D, exercising competence and diligence. The duty of reasonable care requires agents to exercise competence and diligence in their professional activities, ensuring they meet the standard expected of a professional in the real estate field. Washington Ethics Guidelines and Enforcement. Which of the following is a primary responsibility of a real estate agent under Washington agency law? Is it A, setting property prices, B, providing legal advice, C, disclosing all material facts, or D, negotiating commission rates? The answer is C, disclosing all material facts. Washington agency law requires agents to act with loyalty, disclosing all material facts to clients. This ensures clients make informed decisions and maintain trust in the agent-client relationship. Under Washington Ethics Guidelines, what action should an agent take if they discover a conflict of interest? Is it A, disclose the conflict to all parties, B, ignore the conflict if it seems minor, C, only inform the client, or D, resolve the conflict internally? The answer is A, disclose the conflict to all parties. Agents must disclose any conflicts of interest to all parties involved, ensuring transparency and ethical practice, as required by Washington Ethics Guidelines. What is the consequence for a real estate agent in Washington who violates ethical guidelines? Is it A, mandatory retraining, B, license suspension or revocation, C, a warning letter, or D, increase in commission rates? The answer is B, license suspension or revocation. Violating ethical guidelines can lead to disciplinary actions, including license suspension or revocation, to uphold professional standards and protect public interest. How should a Washington real estate agent handle confidential information about a client? Is it A, share with colleagues for advice, B, disclose to potential buyers, C, keep it indefinitely, or D, protect it unless legally required to disclose? The answer is D, protect it unless legally required to disclose. Confidentiality is crucial in maintaining client trust. Agents must not disclose confidential information unless legally required or with client consent, as per Washington guidelines. Now, let's test your understanding of Washington property valuation. Basic principles of property valuation. Which principle of property valuation states that the value of a property is influenced by the cost of acquiring an equally desirable and valuable substitute property? Is it A, principle of supply and demand, B, principle of conformity, C, principle of substitution, or D, principle of progression? The answer is C, principle of substitution. The principle of substitution suggests that a property's value is determined by the cost of acquiring a similar property. This principle is fundamental in the comparative market analysis approach. What is the principle that suggests a property's value is determined by anticipating future benefits and income? Is it A, principle of anticipation, B, principle of contribution, C, principle of change, or D, principle of balance? The answer is A, principle of anticipation. The principle of anticipation posits that the value of a property is based on the present worth of future benefits, such as income or utility derived from the property. Which principle of property valuation explains that the value of a property is affected by the presence of nearby properties? Is it A, principle of substitution, B, principle of contribution, C, principle of highest and best use, or D, principle of externalities? The answer is D, principle of externalities. The principle of externalities, or external influence, suggests that external factors, such as neighboring properties, can significantly impact a property's value, either positively or negatively. What is the principle that indicates the most profitable use of a property, legally permissible and physically possible, is its highest value? Is it A, principle of conformity, B, principle of highest and best use, C, principle of competition, or D, principle of regression? The answer is B, principle of highest and best use. The principle of highest and best use establishes that a property's maximum value is achieved when it is utilized in the most profitable, legally permissible, and physically possible manner. Sales comparison, cost, and income approaches. Which approach to property valuation is most suitable when valuing a single-family home in a typical neighborhood in Washington? Is it A, sales comparison approach, B, cost approach, C, income approach, or D, residual land value approach? The answer is A, sales comparison approach. The sales comparison approach is ideal for valuing single-family homes because it uses recent sales data of similar properties, reflecting current market conditions and buyer preferences. What is the primary limitation of the cost approach in property valuation? Is it A, it requires comparable sales data, B, it is only applicable to income-generating properties, C, it involves estimating depreciation, or D, it is solely based on replacement costs? The answer is C, it involves estimating depreciation. The cost approach can be limited due to its reliance on estimating depreciation, which can be subjective and challenging to quantify accurately for older properties. In the income approach, what does the capitalization rate represent? Is it A, the growth rate of property value, B, the expected rate of return, C, the gross income multiplier, or D, the property's assessed tax rate? The answer is B, the expected rate of return. The capitalization rate, or cap rate, represents the expected rate of return on a property, calculated by dividing net operating income by the property's current market value. Which factor is crucial when using the sales comparison approach for property valuation? Is it A, location, B, construction cost, C, net operating income, or D, replacement cost? The answer is A, location. Location is crucial in the sales comparison approach because it directly affects property value, ensuring comparisons are made with similar properties in similar areas. Let's continue with Washington real estate financing. Mortgage loans and financing options. What is the primary purpose of a mortgage insurance premium in Washington state? Is it A, to cover property taxes for the borrower, B, to protect the lender against borrower default, C, to reduce the interest rate on the mortgage, or D, to provide additional funds for home improvements? The answer is B, to protect the lender against borrower default. MIP is required for FHA loans to protect lenders against losses if a borrower defaults. It allows lenders to offer loans with lower down payments, making homeownership possible for more people. Which type of mortgage is most likely to require a funding fee in Washington? Is it A, conventional loan, B, Federal Housing Administration, FHA loan, C, U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, VA loan, or D, jumbo loan? The answer is C, U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, VA loan. VA loans often require a funding fee, which helps reduce the cost of the loan to taxpayers. The fee can be financed into the loan or paid up front by the borrower. In Washington, what is a key advantage of an adjustable rate mortgage over a fixed rate mortgage? Is it A, lower initial interest rates, B, guaranteed lower rates for the loan term, C, no risk of payment increases, or D, exemption from property taxes? The answer is A, lower initial interest rates. ARMs usually offer lower initial interest rates compared to fixed-rate mortgages, which can result in lower initial monthly payments. This can be beneficial for borrowers planning to sell or refinance before rates adjust. What is a significant feature of a Washington State USDA loan? Is it A, available for urban properties, B, requires a high credit score, C, includes a funding fee, or D, offers 100% financing? The answer is D, offers 100% financing. USDA loans offer 100% financing, meaning no down payment is required. This makes them an attractive option for eligible rural homebuyers who meet income requirements.
Don't forget to comment below with your tips, challenges, and thoughts on exam preparation. Your experiences can make a big difference for others.
Loan applications and approval processes. What is the primary purpose of a loan estimate in the Washington financing process? Is it A, to provide borrowers with a summary of loan terms and costs, B, to approve the loan application immediately, C, to finalize the loan agreement, or D, to determine the borrower's creditworthiness? The answer is A, to provide borrowers with a summary of loan terms and costs. The loan estimate provides borrowers with important details about their mortgage loan, including estimated interest rates, monthly payments, and total closing costs. It helps borrowers compare loan offers. Which document is required by Washington state law to be provided to the borrower within 3 business days of a loan application? Is it A, closing disclosure, B, loan estimate, C, promissory note, or D, deed of trust? The answer is B, loan estimate. The loan estimate must be provided within 3 business days of receiving a mortgage application. It outlines key features, costs, and risks of the mortgage loan. What is the role of the underwriter in the loan approval process in Washington? Is it A, to provide legal advice to the borrower, B, to set the interest rate for the loan, C, to assess the risk of the loan application, or D, to conduct the property appraisal? The answer is C, to assess the risk of the loan application. The underwriter evaluates the borrower's financial information, credit history, and other factors to determine the risk and decide whether to approve the loan application. Which factor is not typically considered by lenders during the loan approval process in Washington? Is it A, credit score, B, income stability, C, debt-to-income ratio, or D, marital status? The answer is D, marital status. Lenders consider factors such as credit score, income, and debt-to-income ratio. The borrower's marital status is not a factor in loan approval decisions. Washington mortgage disclosure requirements. What is the primary purpose of the Washington mortgage disclosure requirements? Is it A, to ensure transparency and protect consumers by providing necessary information. B. To simplify the loan application process for lenders. C. To increase the profitability of mortgage lenders. Or D. To establish a uniform interest rate across all lenders. The answer is A. To ensure transparency and protect consumers by providing necessary information. The Washington mortgage disclosure requirements aim to provide transparency and protect consumers by ensuring they receive all necessary information about their mortgage terms and costs before finalizing a loan. Which document must be provided to borrowers under Washington's mortgage disclosure laws? Is it A. Credit report, B. Loan estimate, C. Title insurance policy, or D. Home inspection report? The answer is B. Loan estimate. The loan estimate is a key document that must be provided to borrowers, detailing important loan terms and estimated costs to ensure they understand the financial commitment they are entering into. When must the closing disclosure be provided to the borrower in Washington? Is it A. At the time of loan application, B. 1 day before closing, C. On the day of closing, or D. 3 business days before closing? The answer is D. 3 business days before closing. The closing disclosure must be provided to the borrower at least 3 business days before closing. This timeframe allows borrowers to review the final terms and costs before committing. What information must be included in the loan estimate under Washington law? Is it A. The borrower's credit score, B. The property's appraised value, C. Loan terms, estimated monthly payments, and closing costs, or D. The lender's profit margin? The answer is C. Loan terms, estimated monthly payments, and closing costs. The loan estimate must include the loan terms, estimated monthly payments, and closing costs, ensuring borrowers understand their financial obligations and can compare different loan offers effectively. Washington-specific loan programs. Which Washington-specific loan program is designed to assist first-time homebuyers with down payment assistance? Is it A. Veterans Down Payment Assistance Loan Program, B. Home Advantage Program, C. Home Advantage Down Payment Assistance Program, or D. Homeownership Opportunity Initiative? The answer is C. Home Advantage Down Payment Assistance Program. The Washington State Housing Finance Commission offers a program specifically for first-time homebuyers, providing down payment assistance to make homeownership more accessible. What is a unique feature of the Washington State Bond Program? Is it A. Offers grants for home renovations, B. Provides low interest rate loans, C. Only available to veterans, or D. Requires no credit check? The answer is B. Provides low interest rate loans. The Washington State Bond Program offers low interest rate loans to eligible buyers, making it easier for them to afford a home. How does the Washington State Housing Finance Commission support homebuyers with lower credit scores? Is it A. Alternative credit scoring models, B. No down payment requirements, C. Higher interest rates, or D. Mandatory financial counseling? The answer is A. Alternative credit scoring models. The Commission offers programs that allow for alternative credit scoring models, helping those with lower scores to qualify for loans. What distinguishes the Veterans Down Payment Assistance Loan Program in Washington? Is it A. Offers zero interest loans, B. Available to all first-time homebuyers, C. Requires a minimum credit score of 700, or D. Targets military veterans exclusively? The answer is D. Targets military veterans exclusively. This program specifically provides down payment assistance to veterans, recognizing their service and aiding in their homeownership journey. Washington State Housing Finance Commission. What is the primary purpose of the Washington State Housing Finance Commission? Is it A, to provide affordable housing and financing options for low and moderate income families? B, to regulate real estate agents in Washington State? C, to develop luxury housing projects in urban areas? Or D, to provide grants for commercial real estate development? The answer is A, to provide affordable housing and financing options for low and moderate income families. The WSHFC aims to increase housing access for low and moderate income families in Washington by providing affordable housing options and financing opportunities, supporting both renters and homebuyers. Which program does the WSHFC offer to help first-time homebuyers? Is it A, interest-free loans for all homebuyers? B, luxury home financing for high-income families? C, down payment assistance programs? Or D, tax incentives for property developers? The answer is C, down payment assistance programs. The WSHFC provides down payment assistance programs to first-time homebuyers, making it easier for them to afford the initial costs of purchasing a home. How does the WSHFC support the development of affordable rental housing? Is it A, by providing free land to developers? B, by allocating tax credits to developers? C, by offering interest-free construction loans? Or D, by mandating lower rent prices statewide? The answer is B, by allocating tax credits to developers. The WSHFC allocates tax credits to developers who build or rehabilitate affordable rental housing, incentivizing the creation of such properties to meet community needs. Which group primarily benefits from the WSHFC's home ownership programs? Is it A, real estate investors seeking tax breaks? B, luxury homebuyers in urban areas? C, high-income families looking for second homes? Or D, first-time homebuyers with low or moderate incomes? The answer is D, first-time homebuyers with low or moderate incomes. The WSHFC's home ownership programs are designed to assist first-time homebuyers, particularly those with low or moderate incomes, to achieve home ownership.
Notice the code in the corner? When you're stumped by a question, enter it at birdsey.ai for immediate help. Enjoy complimentary study sessions and access to hundreds of additional questions to help you pass your exam with confidence.
Now, let's review Washington disclosure requirements and forms. Washington-specific disclosure requirements. What is the primary purpose of the Washington State Seller Disclosure Statement? Is it A, to assess the market value of the property? B, to disclose known defects and conditions of the property? C, to provide a history of property ownership? Or D, to negotiate the terms of the sale? The answer is B, to disclose known defects and conditions of the property. The Washington State Seller Disclosure Statement aims to inform potential buyers about the property's condition and any known defects, ensuring transparency and reducing the risk of future disputes. Which of the following is not typically included in the Washington Seller Disclosure Statement? Is it A, information on the roof's condition? B, presence of hazardous materials? C, the seller's mortgage balance? Or D, details about the septic system? The answer is C, the seller's mortgage balance. The seller disclosure statement generally includes information on structural, mechanical, and environmental aspects of the property, but not the seller's personal financial details. In Washington, when must a seller provide the disclosure statement to a potential buyer? Is it A, after the buyer's offer is accepted? B, at the closing of the sale? C, when the buyer requests it? Or D, before the buyer makes a written offer? The answer is D, before the buyer makes a written offer. The disclosure statement must be provided to the buyer before the buyer makes a written offer, ensuring the buyer is informed about the property's condition before committing. What is the consequence if a seller in Washington fails to provide the disclosure statement? Is it A, the buyer may rescind the offer, B, the seller must pay a fine, C, the transaction proceeds without the statement, or D, the buyer receives a discount on the property? The answer is A, the buyer may rescind the offer. If the seller fails to provide the disclosure statement, the buyer may have the right to rescind the offer, giving them an opportunity to reconsider the purchase without penalty. Commonly used Washington forms. What is the primary purpose of the Washington State Seller Disclosure Statement? Is it A, to inform buyers about the property's condition and known defects, B, to guarantee the property is free of defects, C, to provide a warranty for the property's condition, or D, to replace the need for a home inspection? The answer is A, to inform buyers about the property's condition and known defects. The Washington State Seller Disclosure Statement is designed to inform potential buyers about the condition of the property and any known defects, ensuring transparency and reducing legal disputes. Which form is commonly used in Washington to outline the terms of a real estate transaction? Is it A, listing agreement, B, purchase and sale agreement, C, lease agreement, or D, disclosure statement? The answer is B, purchase and sale agreement. The purchase and sale agreement is a legally binding document that details the terms and conditions agreed upon by the buyer and seller in a real estate transaction. What is the significance of the lead-based paint disclosure in Washington real estate transactions? Is it A, it guarantees the property is free of lead-based paint, B, it is only required for commercial properties, C, it informs buyers of potential lead hazards in older properties, or D, it is optional for sellers to provide? The answer is C. It informs buyers of potential lead hazards in older properties. The lead-based paint disclosure is required for properties built before 1978 to inform buyers of potential lead hazards, aiming to protect health and ensure compliance with federal law. Which document is essential for a buyer to acknowledge receipt of the seller disclosure statement in Washington? Is it A, purchase and sale agreement, B, listing agreement, C, lease agreement, or D, buyer's acknowledgement of receipt? The answer is D, buyer's acknowledgement of receipt. The buyer's acknowledgement of receipt confirms that the buyer has received and reviewed the seller disclosure statement, ensuring both parties are aware of the property's condition. Specific procedures for transactions. What is the primary purpose of the Washington State Seller Disclosure Statement in a real estate transaction? Is it A, to determine the property's market value, B, to inform buyers about the property's condition, C, to outline the terms of the sale, or D, to establish the legal boundaries of the property? The answer is B, to inform buyers about the property's condition. The seller disclosure statement provides critical information about the property's condition, allowing buyers to make informed decisions. It is mandatory for most residential transactions in Washington. When must the Washington State Seller Disclosure Statement be provided to the buyer in a real estate transaction? Is it A, before the buyer signs the purchase agreement, B, at the closing of the transaction, C, after the buyer's inspection period, or D, upon initial listing of the property? The answer is A, before the buyer signs the purchase agreement. The seller disclosure statement must be provided to the buyer before the buyer signs the purchase agreement. This ensures the buyer is fully informed about the property's condition. Which of the following transactions typically requires a seller disclosure statement in Washington State? Is it A, a transfer between co-owners, B, a foreclosure sale, C, a sale of a single-family home, or D, a transfer to a government entity? The answer is C, a sale of a single-family home. Most residential real estate transactions in Washington require a seller disclosure statement, except for certain exemptions like foreclosures and transfers to a spouse. How can a buyer respond if they find discrepancies in the seller disclosure statement after signing the purchase agreement? Is it A, request a price reduction, B, file a complaint with the Real Estate Commission, C, demand immediate repairs, or D, rescind the purchase agreement? The answer is D, rescind the purchase agreement. Buyers can usually rescind the purchase agreement within a specified period if they find discrepancies in the seller disclosure statement, protecting them from undisclosed property issues.
Thanks for joining us today. If you found this video helpful, subscribe to our channel for more practice exams, tips, and tricks. And don't forget to visit birdsey.ai for complimentary study sessions with Birdsey, your AI-powered study partner.